Did you know that in 2025, some countries have completely shut their doors to British travelers? That's right. If you're holding a UK passport, there are places where you'll be denied entry, refused a visa, or even risk getting detained. Some of these bans are expected due to political tensions or war, but a few might shock you. Imagine booking your dream trip, planning everything down to the last detail, only to find out your passport is useless at the border. Or worse, what if you unknowingly land in a country where Brits are heavily restricted and find yourself in serious trouble? But why is this happening? What exactly led to these bans? Some countries have cut ties with the UK over diplomatic disputes, others have closed off completely to outsiders, and a few have made it ridiculously difficult for British citizens to get in. From war zones to authoritarian states and even a place where cars must be white, this list is full of surprises. So before you make your next travel plans, watch till the end, because one of these destinations might have been on your bucket list. Let's dive into 10 countries where British citizens are not welcome in 2025. Number 10. Saudi Arabia. At first glance, Saudi Arabia might not seem like a country that would restrict British travelers. After all, the kingdom only recently opened its doors to tourists with new visa policies. But here's the catch. While Brits can technically get a visa, entering Saudi Arabia comes with serious risks. Over the past few years, multiple reports have surfaced of British citizens being detained, interrogated, and even imprisoned over seemingly minor issues. Something as simple as posting on social media, carrying prescription medication, or even wearing the wrong clothes could land you in trouble. And if you do get arrested, the UK has little diplomatic power to help you. Not to mention, Saudi Arabia's political relationship with the UK has been on thin ice. While trade agreements remain strong, human rights concerns and political tensions have led to strained relations. The Saudi government has been known to deny visas or blacklist foreigners who are seen as critical of the regime. On top of that, Saudi Arabia still has one of the strictest legal systems in the world. Laws that might seem unusual to British travelers, such as bans on alcohol, strict public behavior rules, and harsh penalties for minor offenses, can make visiting risky. So while Saudi Arabia isn't technically banning British travelers, the restrictions, risks, and recent cases of detentions make it one of the most dangerous and unpredictable destinations for UK passport holders in 2025. Number 9. Bhutan, a country known for its stunning landscapes, Buddhist monasteries, and the unique idea of measuring success through gross national happiness instead of GDP. Sounds like a dream destination, right? Well, not if you're British. Unlike other countries on this list, Bhutan hasn't banned UK travelers outright. But getting in, it's ridiculously expensive and nearly impossible for the average tourist. As of 2025, British travelers must pay a mandatory Sustainable Development Fee of $200 per person per day. And that's on top of visa costs, expensive government-approved hotels, and mandatory guided tours. Want to explore Bhutan freely? Forget about it. The country strictly controls where tourists can go, what they can see, and even how long they can stay. But why? Bhutan has always been selective about tourism. The government believes in high-value, low-impact travel, meaning they only want wealthy, responsible tourists who contribute to the economy without overwhelming their culture. Unfortunately, for most British travelers, this means Bhutan is off-limits unless you're ready to spend thousands of pounds for a short visit. So while you won't be stopped at the border, Bhutan has made it financially impossible for the average Brit to visit. The question is, would you ever pay that much to visit Bhutan, or is it just not worth it? Let me know in the comments. And if you're enjoying this list so far, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next countries that have completely shut out British travelers. Number 8. Turkmenistan. Welcome to Turkmenistan, one of the most isolated and secretive countries in the world. If you've never met someone who's been there, there's a reason for that. Almost nobody gets in. And if you're British, good luck. Turkmenistan has one of the strictest visa policies on the planet, rejecting around 90% of tourist visa applications, often without any explanation. Even if you somehow get through the bureaucratic nightmare, you're required to hire a government-approved guide to follow you everywhere, ensuring you see only what the regime wants you to see. But why is Turkmenistan so closed off? Its authoritarian government, led by a president with a cult-like personality, strictly controls media, tourism, and foreign influence. The UK's diplomatic ties with Turkmenistan are weak, and officials rarely approve visas for British tourists. In fact, even journalists and diplomats struggle to enter the country. It's a shame too, because Turkmenistan is home to some truly bizarre and fascinating sights. There's the Gates of Hell, a massive crater that has been burning for over 50 years, and Ashgabat, the eerily empty capital city filled with gold statues and marble palaces. But unless you have government connections or an extremely compelling reason, Turkmenistan remains a closed-off mystery for British travellers in 2025. Number 7. Russia. Not too long ago, Russia was a bucket list destination for many British travellers. From the grandeur of Moscow's Red Square to the cultural richness of St. Petersburg, the country had plenty to offer. But in 2025, getting in as a Brit is nearly impossible. The UK and Russia have been locked in one of the most tense diplomatic standoffs in recent history. Sanctions, espionage scandals, and ongoing conflicts have shattered relations between the two nations. As a result, Russia has made it increasingly difficult for British citizens to enter, with visa applications being delayed, denied, or simply ignored. Even if you manage to get a visa, travelling to Russia comes with serious risks. The UK government has warned its citizens about potential detainment, surveillance, and difficulties in receiving consular support. Simply being a British national in Russia could raise suspicion, and foreign travellers have reported facing aggressive questioning at airports and border checkpoints. On top of that, direct flights between the UK and Russia remain limited or entirely suspended, making travel even more complicated. Some Brits who have visited recently described the experience as walking on eggshells, unsure of what might be considered a violation of local laws. So, while Russia isn't issuing an outright ban on British tourists, the visa restrictions, political tensions, and security concerns make it one of the most difficult and risky destinations for UK travellers in 2025. Number 6. Iran. Iran is one of the world's richest cultural hubs, home to ancient cities, breathtaking mosques, and a civilization dating back thousands of years. Cities like Tehran, Shiraz, and Isfahan are bursting with history, art, and hospitality. But if you hold a British passport, visiting this fascinating country in 2025 might be nothing more than a dream. Diplomatic ties between the UK and Iran have been tense for decades, and recently they've reached an all-time low. The result? Extremely strict travel restrictions for British citizens. The Iranian government often suspects UK visitors of espionage or political motives, meaning British tourists face a very high chance of visa denials or lengthy delays. Even worse, British-Iranian dual nationals have faced arbitrary arrests and detentions, heightening fears among UK travellers. The Foreign Office explicitly advises against travelling to Iran due to these risks, making it nearly impossible to get insurance or diplomatic protection. And yet, the cultural draw of Iran is undeniable. Imagine wandering through the magnificent ruins of Persepolis, exploring colourful bazaars filled with spices and handmade crafts, or enjoying tea in a traditional Persian garden. Unfortunately for Brits, these experiences are largely inaccessible due to political complexities beyond their control. Unless diplomatic relations dramatically improve, Iran remains firmly on the list of countries where British travellers are either unwelcome or heavily restricted. In other words, if you're British, Iran might stay just beyond your reach in 2025. One more remarkable country you might never see. Number 5. Libya. Libya is home to some of the most stunning Roman ruins in the world, vast stretches of untouched Sahara Desert, and a coastline that once rivaled the Mediterranean's top tourist destinations. But for British travellers in 2025, it's a no-go zone. Since the fall of Muammar Gaddafi in 2011, Libya has been in a constant state of chaos. Warring militias, an unstable government, and terrorist activity have made it one of the most dangerous countries on the planet. And when it comes to British citizens, the situation is even worse. The UK played a key role in NATO's military intervention during Libya's civil war, which has left a lasting resentment in parts of the country. Because of this, British travellers, especially those with government or media ties, are often viewed with suspicion. There's also the issue of no functioning British embassy in Libya. That means if you run into trouble, there's no consular support to help you out. Kidnappings, violent crime, and even targeted attacks against foreigners have been reported, making travel far too risky. Even if you somehow wanted to visit, getting a visa is next to impossible. Libya's borders are tightly controlled, and airlines have suspended most international flights. Simply put, unless you have an urgent and government-approved reason, British citizens are completely locked out of Libya in 2025. It's a tragic situation because Libya is home to incredible historical sites, like the ancient city of Leptis Magna, a Roman ruin that rivals Pompeii. But for now, those wonders remain off-limits to British tourists. Number 4. Syria. Once upon a time, Syria was a hidden gem for adventurous travelers, home to breathtaking landscapes, vibrant souks, and some of the oldest cities in the world. Damascus, Aleppo, and Palmyra were must-visit destinations for history lovers. But in 2025, Syria is practically impossible for British citizens to enter. Over a decade of war has left the country in ruins, with ongoing conflicts, political instability, and one of the world's worst humanitarian crises. The UK has no diplomatic relations with Syria, and the British government has imposed heavy sanctions on the Syrian regime. In response, Syria has made it extremely difficult, if not outright impossible, for Brits to obtain a visa. Even if you somehow managed to enter, you'd be taking an enormous risk. Kidnappings, surveillance, and detainments are commonplace, and foreign visitors, especially those from Western countries, are viewed with suspicion. There have even been cases of foreign nationals being arrested on espionage charges. To make matters worse, entering Syria without permission is illegal under UK law. That's right. If you travel there without authorization, you could be prosecuted upon return to the UK. The Foreign Office strongly warns against all travel, and flights between the UK and Syria remain completely suspended. It's heartbreaking because Syria's ancient ruins, including the majestic city of Palmyra, were once some of the most stunning historical sites on Earth. But as of 2025, for British travellers, Syria remains a closed and highly dangerous destination, one that may never be safe to visit again. Number 3. Yemen is a country of stunning natural beauty, rich history, and incredible hospitality. Yet it's also one of the most dangerous places on Earth. In 2025, British citizens are completely barred from entering due to ongoing war, political instability, and extreme security risks. For over a decade, Yemen has been trapped in a devastating civil war with multiple factions fighting for control. The conflict has led to one of the world's worst humanitarian crises, with widespread famine, disease outbreaks, and collapsed infrastructure. And for foreigners, especially British citizens, the risks are life-threatening. Brits attempting to enter Yemen will face major obstacles, starting with the fact that there's no functioning British embassy in the country. This means that if something goes wrong, whether it's an arrest, kidnapping, or medical emergency, there's no consular help available. Even more alarming, British nationals have been specifically targeted by extremist groups in the region. There have been cases of Westerners being kidnapped for ransom or even used in political negotiations. The UK government strongly advises against all travel, and flights to Yemen are practically non-existent for British passport holders. But perhaps the biggest tragedy is what's been lost. Yemen is home to ancient cities like Sana'a and Shibam, often called the Manhattan of the desert, due to its towering mud brick skyscrapers. These sites were once UNESCO World Heritage Wonders, but today they're inaccessible to the world. As of 2025, Yemen remains completely off-limits to British travellers, and there's no sign of that changing anytime soon. Number 2. North Korea. North Korea has always been one of the most mysterious and isolated countries in the world, but in 2025, getting in as a British citizen is virtually impossible. Once upon a time, a handful of adventurous tourists could visit on heavily controlled government tours. But now, the doors are completely shut. Following years of increasing tensions between North Korea and Western nations, relations between Pyongyang and London have collapsed. The UK has condemned North Korea's human rights abuses, nuclear tests, and cyber attacks, leading to worsening diplomatic ties. In response, the North Korean government has severely restricted visas for British citizens and in many cases outright refuses them. Even if you somehow manage to secure a rare visa, traveling to North Korea comes with massive risks. The country is infamous for its harsh punishments on foreigners, including long-term imprisonment for what may seem like minor offences, such as leaving a newspaper with a leader's photo on the floor or taking an unauthorised picture. On top of that, British diplomats have zero power to help you if you get into trouble. The UK does not have an embassy in North Korea, meaning that if you're detained, you're on your own. With border closures, strict government controls, and the growing risk of diplomatic fallout, North Korea remains one of the most difficult and dangerous places for British travellers in 2025. And unless you're willing to risk detainment, constant surveillance, and the complete absence of personal freedom, it's safe to say that North Korea is a destination best left off the itinerary. Number 1. Afghanistan. If there's one country that British citizens absolutely cannot visit in 2025, it's Afghanistan. Since the Taliban regained control in 2021, the country has become one of the most dangerous places in the world, especially for Western travellers. And for British passport holders, it's practically a death sentence. Diplomatic relations between the UK and Afghanistan have completely collapsed. The British embassy has shut down, and there is no consular support for UK citizens in the country. This means that if you get arrested, kidnapped, or caught in a violent conflict, there's no one to help you. The situation is even worse because the Taliban considers British nationals to be enemies due to the UK's military involvement in Afghanistan over the past 2 decades. Foreigners, especially those from the UK, are at extreme risk of being detained, interrogated, or used as political bargaining chips. Even if you're not a tourist, but a journalist or aid worker, getting a visa is next to impossible. And if you somehow enter Afghanistan without proper documentation, you could be accused of espionage, which carries severe consequences under the Taliban's rule. It's tragic because Afghanistan was once a country of breathtaking landscapes, ancient cities, and rich cultural heritage. But in 2025, for British citizens, it remains a no-go zone, where stepping foot on Afghan soil could be one of the biggest mistakes of your life. Simply put, if you're British, Afghanistan is the last place you should ever consider visiting. And there you have it, 10 countries where British travellers are simply not welcome in 2025. Some due to war, others due to politics, and a few with reasons that are just plain bizarre. Which one surprised you the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. If you found this video interesting, check out our previous video, link on the screen, for more eye-opening travel facts. And hey, we put a ton of effort into making these videos, so if you want to support us, just hit that subscribe button. It's free and takes just one click. See you in the next one. What if I told you the UK economy is hanging by a thread, and 2025 could be the year everything comes crashing down? Think about this. House prices are plunging, small businesses are shutting down at record rates, the national debt has hit over £2.6 trillion, and guess what? This is just the beginning. Inflation is eating away your savings, wages aren't keeping up, and millions of people are struggling just to pay for food, rent, and energy bills. But here's the scary part, things could get much worse. Could we see another financial crash like 2008? A wave of bank failures? A complete economic meltdown? Most people are sleepwalking into disaster, but today you won't be one of them. Because in this video, I'm breaking down 10 shocking reasons why the UK economy is on the verge of collapse, and what you can do to protect yourself. And trust me, by the time we reach reason number 10, you'll realize just how dangerously close we are to the edge. So stick around, because if you think things are bad now, you haven't seen anything yet. Number 1. Government debt spiraling out of control. Let's start with one of the biggest warning signs. Government debt is spiraling out of control, and there's no escape in sight. The UK's national debt has crossed a staggering £2.6 trillion, which is now more than 100% of the country's entire GDP. That means the government owes more money than the entire economy produces in a year. And here's the scary part. It's only getting worse. Every single day, the UK borrows millions just to keep the system running. But as interest rates rise, the cost of paying back this debt is exploding. The government is now spending billions just on interest payments alone, more than it spends on key public services like education, transport, or policing. And guess what? That money has to come from somewhere. So what happens next? Higher taxes, brutal spending cuts, and a weaker economy. You've already seen it. More austerity, more public sector strikes, and collapsing infrastructure. The NHS is underfunded, schools are struggling, and councils across the country are literally declaring bankruptcy. This isn't just a financial issue, it's a full-blown crisis. And the worst part? The government can't just print money to solve this, because that would send inflation soaring even higher. They're stuck between a rock and a hard place. The only way out? Massive tax hikes or devastating spending cuts. Either way, the people lose. But that's just the first reason the UK economy is heading for disaster. Next, let's talk about something even worse. Number 2. Stagflation, the worst of both worlds. If you thought high inflation was bad, imagine dealing with inflation and a stagnant economy at the same time. That's exactly what's happening right now, and it's called stagflation, one of the most dangerous economic conditions a country can face. Normally, when prices rise, wages go up too. But in stagflation, everything just gets worse. Prices keep climbing, but economic growth slows down, meaning businesses stop hiring, people lose jobs, and those who still have one find their paychecks buying less and less each month. It's a nightmare scenario. The Bank of England has been raising interest rates aggressively to fight inflation, but here's the problem. It's not working fast enough. Food, energy, rent, everything is still way more expensive than it was a couple of years ago, and wages aren't keeping up. That means the average person is getting poorer in real terms. And the scariest part, there's no easy way out. If the government cuts interest rates to boost growth, inflation will skyrocket. If they keep rates high to control inflation, the economy could crash even harder. It's a lose-lose situation. So what does this mean for you? Less money in your pocket, higher living costs, and an even tougher job market. And with businesses already struggling, things could spiral out of control fast. What do you think? Have you noticed prices going up while wages stay the same? Comment below, and let's talk about it. And if you want to stay ahead of these economic changes, hit that subscribe button. There's a lot more you need to know. Now, if you think stagflation is bad, wait until you hear what's happening in the housing market. This is where things get really scary. Number 3. The housing market meltdown. Picture this. You saved for years, finally bought a home, and locked in a mortgage. Then suddenly, boom, interest rates skyrocket, your monthly payments double, and you're struggling to keep up. That's not just a hypothetical scenario, it's happening right now across the UK. For years, the housing market was on fire. Cheap borrowing meant people could afford bigger mortgages, pushing home prices higher and higher. But then came the rate hikes. The Bank of England started increasing interest rates to fight inflation, and suddenly, mortgage repayments became a financial nightmare. Homeowners who were paying £800 a month on their mortgage are now seeing payments soar to £1,500 or even £2,000. Some can barely afford to keep up. Others, they're being forced to sell fast, and that's where the real danger begins. As more people rush to offload their homes, prices plummet. Buyers can't afford high mortgage rates, demand drops, and suddenly the market is in free fall. Properties that were worth £300,000 a year ago, now struggling to sell for £250,000. And this is just the beginning. But here's the scary part. Landlords are feeling the pressure too. Higher mortgage costs mean higher rents, but renters are already stretched thin. If tenants can't afford to pay, landlords start offloading properties, flooding the market with even more homes, driving prices down even further. It's a vicious cycle, and there's no easy way out. So what happens next? Mass foreclosures, a rental crisis, and a potential housing market collapse on a scale we haven't seen in decades. And if you think this sounds bad, wait until you hear what's happening to small businesses, because they're getting hit even harder. Number 4. Small businesses on the brink. Walk down any high street in the UK, and you'll see the signs, literally. Closing down sale, everything must go, and boarded up shops where bustling businesses used to be. This isn't just a few unlucky businesses struggling. This is a full-blown crisis. Small businesses, the backbone of the UK economy, are going under at an alarming rate. Rising costs, higher wages, and fewer customers are squeezing them from all sides. More than 50% of small businesses say they're barely staying afloat, and thousands are shutting their doors every single month. Why? Because everything costs more. Rent has gone up, energy bills have soared, raw materials and supply chain costs are through the roof. And with inflation eating away at people's spending power, customers just aren't spending like they used to. Even businesses that survived the pandemic are now drowning in debt. Many took out government loans to stay afloat, but now those repayments are due, and they can't keep up. Banks aren't lending like they used to, and those that do are charging sky-high interest rates. And let's not forget, when businesses fail, people lose jobs. Small and medium-sized businesses employ around 60% of the UK's private sector workforce. If they collapse, unemployment skyrockets. More job losses mean less consumer spending, and the whole economy spirals downward. But here's the part no one is talking about. Big corporations are eating up what's left. While small businesses struggle, mega corporations are buying up failing shops and dominating industries. The rich get richer, the small guy gets wiped out. And if small businesses are collapsing now, just wait until the next energy crisis hits, because that's coming sooner than you think. Here's why the UK's energy disaster is far from over. Number 5. The energy crisis. Remember when energy bills skyrocketed in 2022 and the government had to step in with emergency support? Well, here's the harsh reality. That crisis never really ended. It was just paused. And now the UK is teetering on the edge of another energy shock that could hit even harder. For starters, the UK still relies heavily on imported gas and oil, which means we're at the mercy of global energy markets. And with ongoing conflicts, supply chain disruptions, and unpredictable demand, prices could spike overnight. If another global energy crunch happens, your bills could double. Again. And here's something even more worrying. Government support is disappearing. The energy price cap kept bills from getting completely out of control, but that relief is fading. No more subsidies, no more discounts, just full-priced energy hitting your wallet. Meanwhile, businesses are getting crushed. Energy-intensive industries like manufacturing, restaurants, and retail can't handle another price surge. When their bills go up, they pass the cost on to you. That means higher prices for everything: food, transport, heating, and everyday essentials. And what about renewables? While the UK has made progress in wind and solar energy, it's nowhere near enough to replace fossil fuels in the short term. Until we fix this dependency, we're stuck in a cycle of price shocks and uncertainty. So what happens next? Blackouts? More businesses shutting down? Higher costs across the board? One thing is certain: this crisis isn't over, and 2025 could be the year it all spirals out of control. But while rising energy costs are painful, another crisis is creeping in that could completely change life as we know it: the death of the UK high street. Let's talk about why retail is collapsing faster than ever. Number 6. The retail apocalypse. Walk through any town in the UK and you'll see it. Empty shops, to-let signs, and abandoned high streets that once buzzed with life. The UK retail sector is in free fall, and what's coming next could change the way we shop forever. Big-name stores that once dominated the high street, Wilko, Debenhams, Topshop, are gone. And more are following. Even major supermarket chains are cutting jobs and shutting locations. But it's not just the big brands. Small family-run shops are disappearing at an even faster rate. The reason? People simply aren't spending like they used to. With the cost of living crisis tightening wallets, shopping for non-essentials has become a luxury, and when people do shop, they're doing it online. Giants like Amazon are dominating, offering lower prices and fast delivery, something local stores just can't compete with. And then there's the rising cost of running a business. Retailers are dealing with higher rents, energy bills, and business rates while foot traffic keeps dropping. Many are being forced to shut down, not because they want to, but because they have no choice. But here's the real danger: once these shops are gone, they're gone for good. The local butcher, the independent bookstore, the cozy cafe that's been there for years, replaced by empty units, betting shops, or soulless chain stores. This isn't just about losing places to shop, it's about losing community, jobs, and the heart of our towns and cities. And while the retail sector crumbles, another crisis is quietly building that could send the UK into a full-blown financial meltdown, bank runs, and a potential collapse of the banking system. Here's why your money may not be as safe as you think. Number 7. The bank runs no one is talking about. Imagine waking up one morning, checking your bank balance, and realizing you can't withdraw your own money. The bank has temporarily restricted withdrawals due to a liquidity crisis. Sounds like a movie plot, right? Well, it's happened before, and the warning signs are flashing again. In 2008, Northern Rock collapsed, triggering the UK's worst banking crisis in modern history. People lined up outside banks, desperate to pull their money out before it was too late. Fast forward to today, and while things might seem stable on the surface, cracks are already forming. With rising interest rates and economic instability, UK banks are under pressure. Mortgage defaults are increasing, businesses are failing, and people are struggling to pay back loans. When banks start losing money, they tighten lending, making it harder for people and businesses to borrow. A vicious cycle that can tip the economy into full-blown crisis. And here's where it gets even riskier. Most banks operate on a fractional reserve system. That means they only keep a tiny fraction of actual cash on hand. If too many people withdraw their money at once, the system collapses. There have already been small warning signs, banks quietly restricting cash withdrawals, digital banking outages, and growing fears of a credit crunch. If one major financial institution fails, panic could spread instantly, causing a domino effect across the entire economy. So the real question is, how safe is your money? If things take a turn for the worse, do you have a backup plan? And while a banking crisis would be devastating, it's not the only financial disaster looming, because the British pound itself is in trouble. Let's talk about why the UK's currency could be at risk of a major collapse. Number 8. The British pound is in trouble. Most people don't think much about exchange rates until suddenly their money doesn't buy as much as it used to. And right now, the British pound is weakening, raising serious concerns about the UK's financial future. Over the past few years, the pound has struggled against major currencies like the US dollar and the euro. And here's why that matters. A weak currency makes everything more expensive. The UK imports a massive amount of goods, from food to electronics to fuel. When the pound loses value, imports cost more, pushing prices even higher for businesses and consumers. Think about it like this. If the pound weakens further, your paycheck won't stretch as far. Inflation has already been brutal, but a falling currency could make it even worse. More expensive fuel, higher grocery bills, pricier holidays abroad, everything gets hit. And it's not just about everyday spending. Foreign investors are pulling money out of the UK. Confidence in the British economy is fading, and when investors lose faith, they move their money elsewhere, making the pound even weaker. This is exactly what happened during the 2022 mini-budget crisis, when the pound nearly collapsed overnight. If the government fails to stabilize the economy, we could be looking at a serious currency crisis. And once a currency spiral starts, it's incredibly hard to stop. Just ask countries that have been through it. Economic instability, rising costs, and financial chaos follow. And if that wasn't bad enough, there's another threat to jobs and incomes that no one is truly prepared for. AI and automation are taking over faster than anyone expected. Let's talk about why millions of UK jobs could be at risk in the coming years. Number 9. The AI takeover. For decades, we've been told that technology creates more jobs than it destroys. But what happens when AI advances so quickly that it replaces workers faster than new industries can absorb them? That's the terrifying reality we're heading toward, and the UK is not ready. Automation isn't just taking over factory work anymore. AI is now replacing jobs in banking, customer service, journalism, law, and even medicine. Chatbots are handling customer support, AI-powered legal software is drafting contracts, and some financial firms are using algorithms instead of human analysts. The scary part: these aren't low-skilled jobs. These are careers that once seemed safe. A study by PwC estimated that over 30% of UK jobs could be at risk of automation by the early 2030s. But at the rate AI is developing, that timeline could be much shorter. Companies are already laying off workers to cut costs, replacing them with AI-driven tools that don't need salaries, benefits, or breaks. And here's where it gets worse. Most people aren't prepared. The government hasn't put forward a clear strategy for reskilling workers, meaning millions could be left behind. If businesses don't invest in retraining, the UK could face an unemployment crisis on a scale we've never seen before. So what happens next? Will new AI-driven industries create enough jobs to replace the ones being lost? Or will the gap between the rich and the working class grow wider than ever before? One thing is certain: economic uncertainty breeds political chaos. And with an election on the horizon, global tensions rising, and a fractured leadership, the UK's political instability could be the final straw that pushes the economy over the edge. Let's talk about why. Number 10. Political instability. A weak economy is bad enough, but when you mix in political uncertainty, leadership crises, and global instability, the situation becomes even more dangerous. And right now, the UK is on shaky ground. With another general election looming, no one knows what direction the country will take. Will the current government stay in power? Will there be a leadership change? And more importantly, will any of them have a real plan to fix this economic disaster? Because so far, all we've seen is short-term policies, broken promises, and political infighting while the economy crumbles. But here's the bigger issue. Investors hate uncertainty. When there's instability in leadership, businesses and foreign investors get nervous. They pull their money out, delay expansion plans, and stop hiring. This slows down economic growth even further, making a bad situation even worse. And it's not just domestic politics. Global tensions are also making things worse. The UK is still dealing with the long-term effects of Brexit, ongoing trade disputes, and rising tensions between major world economies like the US, China, and the EU. If global markets take a hit, the UK, already struggling, will feel the impact even harder. History has shown us that when economies weaken, political tensions rise. Protests, strikes, and civil unrest become more common. People lose faith in the system, and once that happens, it's incredibly difficult to regain stability. So where does this leave us? An economy hanging by a thread, a government scrambling for solutions, and a public growing more frustrated by the day. The warning signs are everywhere, and 2025 could be the tipping point for the UK economy. So what do you think? Are we heading for disaster, or is there still a way out? Drop a comment below. I read every single one. And if you found this video valuable, don't let it go to waste. Check out our last video. It connects directly to everything we talked about today. We put a massive amount of effort into bringing you these deep dive insights, so if you want to stay ahead of the curve, hit that subscribe button. It's just one click, and it helps us keep making content that matters. Did you know that over 500,000 people left the UK last year? That's 500,000 people packing up and saying, enough is enough. But why? What's pushing so many Brits to abandon the country they once called home? Well, here's the harsh truth. The UK is changing fast, and not in a good way. Skyrocketing living costs, an NHS on the brink of collapse, and a housing market so broken that owning a home feels like a fantasy. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Prices are out of control, rent highest in history, energy bills through the roof, taxes swallowing your paycheck. Buying a home? Good luck. The average house deposit now takes decades to save. And if you get sick, brace yourself. You could be waiting months, even years, for basic medical care. But here's the real kicker. It's only going to get worse. Experts predict that by 2030, life in the UK will be harder, more expensive, and less secure than ever before. So before it's too late, you need to ask yourself, should you stay and struggle, or should you start planning your escape? In this video, I'll give you 10 shocking reasons why leaving the UK before 2030 might be the smartest move you ever make. And trust me, by the time we reach number 1, you'll understand why so many people are making this life-changing decision. Let's get into it. Number 1. The cost of living crisis. Let's be real, living in the UK has never been this expensive, and it's only going to get worse. If you felt like your paycheck isn't stretching as far as it used to, you're not imagining things. The cost of housing, food, energy, and even basic necessities has spiraled out of control. And the scariest part? There's no sign of it slowing down. Take rent, for example. Londoners are now paying an average of £2,500 a month for a tiny flat. And that's if you're lucky. Even outside the capital, prices are skyrocketing, with rents increasing at their fastest rate in decades. Buying a home? Forget it. The average house price in the UK has now passed £290,000, and mortgage rates are at a 15-year high. Unless you have a massive deposit saved up, home ownership is slipping further out of reach. And it's not just housing. Grocery prices have soared by over 30% in just a few years. Items that used to be cheap, milk, bread, eggs, now cost double what they did not long ago. Energy bills? Some families are forced to choose between heating their homes and putting food on the table. Even public transport, once seen as an affordable way to get around, is now eating up a significant chunk of people's incomes. What's worse is that wages aren't keeping up. People are working longer hours, taking on second jobs, and cutting back on essentials. But no matter what they do, it feels impossible to stay ahead. Inflation continues to eat away at savings, and with interest rates climbing, borrowing money isn't a solution either. Meanwhile, other countries are offering a better quality of life for a fraction of the cost. In places like Portugal, Spain, or Thailand, you can live comfortably for half of what it costs in the UK. So the real question is, why struggle in a country where basic survival is becoming a luxury when there are better, more affordable options out there? Number 2. The housing market is broken. If you've ever tried to buy a home in the UK, you already know. It feels impossible. Prices are out of control, mortgage rates are soaring, and for many people, home ownership is nothing more than a fantasy. Let's break it down. The average house in the UK now costs nearly £300,000. That means if you're a first-time buyer, you'll need at least £50,000 to £60,000 just for a deposit. And that's before you even think about legal fees, stamp duty, and other hidden costs. But here's the catch. While house prices have skyrocketed, wages haven't. So unless you've got a high-paying job or family money, you're stuck renting. And renting isn't much better. Landlords are charging record-high rents, and they're only going up. The UK rental market is in crisis. Bidding wars for tiny flats, outrageous demands for upfront payments, and conditions that wouldn't be acceptable anywhere else. And if you think you can just wait for prices to drop, think again. The demand for housing is so high that even in a market crash, affordability won't improve for most people. Meanwhile, in other countries, home ownership is actually achievable. In places like Spain, Greece, or even parts of Eastern Europe, you can buy a beautiful home for a fraction of the cost in the UK. Some governments even offer special incentives for foreign buyers, making it easier to start a new life abroad. So here's the real question. Why stay trapped in a system that's designed to keep you renting forever when you could move somewhere that actually gives you a chance at home ownership? What do you think? Is the UK housing market completely broken, or do you still have hope? Let me know in the comments. And if this video is opening your eyes to the reality of life in the UK, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss the next reason why leaving before 2030 might be your best move. Number 3. The NHS is on life support. Once upon a time, the NHS was the pride of Britain, a healthcare system that promised free, high-quality treatment for all. But let's be brutally honest, that system is crumbling, and no amount of wishful thinking is going to fix it. Right now, millions of people are stuck in never-ending queues just to see a doctor. Need an operation? Be prepared to wait months, if not years. Even getting a simple GP appointment feels like trying to win the lottery. And if you think this is bad, experts warn that things are only going to get worse as funding cuts, staff shortages, and an aging population push the system to its breaking point. Imagine this: you or a loved one falls seriously ill. Do you really want to be in a country where you might not get treatment in time, where ambulances take hours to arrive, A&E departments are overflowing, and overworked doctors are forced to make impossible choices about who gets seen first. This isn't fear-mongering, it's happening right now. And the irony, you're paying for this broken system with your taxes. Every month, a chunk of your hard-earned money disappears into a black hole, funding a service that may not even be there for you when you need it most. Meanwhile, in many other countries, private healthcare is surprisingly affordable. In places like Portugal, Spain, or Thailand, you can get top-tier medical treatment without waiting months, and often for a fraction of what you'd pay in the UK. So let's be real, if your health is your most valuable asset, do you really want to gamble it on a system that's barely holding together? Number 4. The UK's economy is slowing down. For years, the UK was seen as a land of opportunity, a place where hard work could get you ahead. But let's face it, that version of Britain doesn't exist anymore. The reality, the economy is shrinking, wages are stagnant, and industries that once thrived are now struggling to survive. Big companies are either laying off workers or moving their operations overseas in search of lower costs and better conditions. And who gets left behind? The average worker, stuck in a system that offers fewer jobs, lower wages, and zero financial security. If you're hoping for things to turn around, don't hold your breath. The UK's economic growth is one of the slowest in the developed world, and with inflation eating away at savings, the future isn't looking any brighter. Even professionals in fields like finance, tech, and healthcare, jobs that were once considered safe, are now feeling the squeeze. Raises are rare, promotions are slow, and job security is weaker than ever. And let's talk about taxes. You're working harder, earning less, and yet somehow paying more in taxes than ever before. Meanwhile, in other parts of the world, governments are actually offering incentives to attract skilled workers and business owners. Places like Dubai, Singapore, and even some parts of Europe offer lower taxes, better job opportunities, and a higher quality of life for ambitious professionals. The bottom line? If you're relying on the UK to provide you with financial stability and career growth, you might be in for a harsh wake-up call. More and more people are realizing that their skills and talents could take them further, faster, and with less stress, somewhere else. So the question is, how long are you willing to wait for an economy that may never recover? Number 5. The tax burden is crushing you. Every month, you work hard, grind through long hours, and finally see your paycheck, only to watch a huge chunk of it disappear before it even reaches your bank account. Sound familiar? Welcome to the UK tax system, where you pay more and get less in return. Right now, the UK has one of the highest personal tax rates in the world. Income tax, national insurance, council tax, VAT, fuel duty. The list goes on. And the worst part, it's only going to increase. With a struggling economy, rising government debt, and public services on the verge of collapse, taxes are being raised left, right, and centre just to keep the system afloat. Let's break it down. If you're earning an average salary, nearly half of your income disappears into taxes. If you're self-employed or running a business, you're getting squeezed even harder. And if you think this is bad, look at the future. Higher taxes are almost guaranteed, while wages stay the same. Now compare this to other countries. In places like the UAE, you pay 0% income tax. In Portugal, Spain, and Thailand, there are tax-friendly programs designed to attract foreign workers and investors. Some European nations even offer huge tax breaks for digital nomads and entrepreneurs. So ask yourself, why are you working harder just to give more of your money away, when other countries will let you keep more of what you earn? The world is full of places where you can live better, earn more, and actually enjoy the fruits of your labor. Because at the end of the day, if you're paying premium taxes, shouldn't you at least get a premium quality of life? Number 6. Crime and social instability are rising. Let's talk about something people don't like to admit. The UK is becoming more dangerous. Violent crime, theft, and antisocial behavior are on the rise, and if you've ever felt less safe walking home at night, you're not imagining things. The numbers don't lie. Knife crime has doubled in the last decade, burglaries are going unsolved, and street violence is at an all-time high. Even in areas that were once considered safe, people are now installing extra locks, avoiding public transport at night, and constantly watching their backs. And it's not just major cities like London, Manchester, or Birmingham. Crime rates are climbing across the country. But it's not just crime that's the problem. Social unrest is brewing. Protests, strikes, political tensions. The country feels more divided than ever. People are angry, the cost of living is fueling desperation, and communities that once felt stable are now struggling to hold together. Public services are stretched thin, the police are overwhelmed, and there's a growing sense that things are spiraling out of control. Meanwhile, other countries prioritize safety. In places like Japan, Switzerland, or certain parts of Europe, crime rates are a fraction of what they are in the UK. People don't have to constantly look over their shoulders or worry about their homes being broken into. Many expats say that one of the biggest reasons they left the UK was simply to feel safer, to live somewhere where they don't have to think twice about walking alone at night or leaving their car parked outside. So ask yourself this: if crime keeps rising and social instability keeps getting worse, do you really want to stick around and wait for things to change? Or would you rather live somewhere where safety isn't a luxury but a basic part of everyday life? Number 7. Political chaos and uncertainty. Let's be honest, the UK's political landscape is a mess. No matter what side of the debate you're on, one thing is clear. There's no stability, no long-term vision, and no real solutions. It's just one crisis after another, one leader after another, and a country that seems stuck in an endless cycle of uncertainty. Think about it. In the last few years alone, we've had multiple prime ministers, constant political scandals, and a government that seems more focused on internal power struggles than actually fixing the country. Every new leader promises change, but what actually improves? The economy? Number public services? Definitely not. All we get is more division, more broken promises, and more uncertainty about the future. And let's not forget Brexit, a decision that was supposed to bring prosperity, but has instead left businesses struggling, supply chains in chaos, and the economy weaker than ever. Meanwhile, other countries are moving forward, attracting new businesses, growing their economies, and creating better opportunities for their people. The UK? It's stuck in political quicksand, unable to move in any direction without controversy, protests, and backlash. The real danger here isn't just bad leadership, it's the long-term consequences of a country that can't agree on where it's headed. Investors are pulling out, companies are relocating, and people who once felt optimistic about living in the UK are now looking for a way out. Because who wants to build a future in a country where the rules keep changing, where policies shift every few years, and where the only thing guaranteed is uncertainty? Meanwhile, places like Canada, Australia, and parts of Europe offer political stability, clear economic policies, and a better overall quality of life. People there don't wake up every morning wondering what new crisis will dominate the headlines. So the question is, do you really want to stay in a country where the future is unpredictable? Or would you rather live somewhere where stability isn't just a distant dream? Number 8. The weather is miserable. Let's talk about something we all secretly hate, but just accept as part of living in the UK, the weather. Grey skies, constant drizzle, freezing winters and summers that feel more like extended autumns. If you feel like the UK is in a permanent state of gloom, you're not wrong. And sure, some people say, it's just weather, get over it. But here's the thing, it's not just an inconvenience, it's actually impacting your mental and physical health. Studies show that a lack of sunlight can lead to seasonal affective disorder, SAOD, a condition linked to depression, low energy, and mood swings. Ever wondered why you feel more sluggish, unmotivated, and drained during UK winters? It's not in your head. The lack of natural light is literally affecting your brain chemistry. Then there's the issue of vitamin D deficiency, which is incredibly common in the UK due to the lack of sunlight. Low vitamin D levels have been linked to weakened immune systems, fatigue, and even serious health issues like heart disease and bone problems. But let's not forget the everyday struggle, the endless grey skies, the unpredictability of rain, and those rare days of sunshine that vanish in an instant. Ever planned a summer BBQ only for it to start pouring rain out of nowhere? That's life in the UK, and while some might say it's part of the country's charm, millions of people are realizing they don't have to live like this. In countries like Spain, Portugal, Australia, or even Thailand, the sun shines for most of the year. People spend more time outdoors, get natural vitamin D, and enjoy a much better work-life balance. The impact on mood, energy, and overall happiness is huge. So here's the real question. Why keep living in a place where the weather makes you feel worse when there are places in the world where sunshine and warmth are just a normal part of life? Number 9. The UK's work-life balance is broken. Let's be honest, life in the UK feels like an endless cycle of work, stress, and exhaustion. For most people, the daily routine looks something like this. Wake up early, commute in overcrowded trains, or sit in traffic for hours, work long hours in a high-pressure environment, come home too tired to enjoy life, and repeat. Sound familiar? The UK has one of the worst work-life balances in Europe. People here work longer hours than most European countries, yet wages don't reflect the effort. Overtime is expected but rarely rewarded, and burnout is so common that it's practically considered normal. Stress levels are through the roof, mental health issues are rising, and people feel trapped in a system where they work just to survive, not to enjoy life. Now compare this to places like Denmark, the Netherlands, or Sweden. These countries have shorter work weeks, higher salaries, and a culture that values personal time. In Spain, the concept of siestas and relaxed work environments allow people to actually enjoy their lives. In Portugal, remote work policies and freelancer-friendly laws are attracting professionals looking for flexibility. Meanwhile, in the UK, the 9-to-5 grind is still treated like a badge of honor, even though it's ruining people's quality of life. And let's talk about holidays. The UK's legal minimum annual leave is just 28 days, including public holidays. In France, it's at least 30 days, plus public holidays. In Germany, workers get up to 6 weeks off, fully paid. In countries like Australia and New Zealand, work-life balance is a priority, with employers actually encouraging time off. It all comes down to this. Do you want to spend your life working just to pay bills? Or do you want to live somewhere that actually values your time, your mental health, and your happiness? More and more people are realizing that they don't have to accept the UK's broken system, because other countries have already figured out how to do it better. Number 10. More freedom and opportunities abroad. Here's a question. Why stay in a country that limits your opportunities when the rest of the world is waiting for you? The truth is, the UK is no longer the land of endless possibilities. Economic struggles, high taxes, and a declining quality of life mean that for many people, staying here feels more like survival than success. But here's the good news. You don't have to settle. Right now, countries around the world are actively looking for skilled workers, entrepreneurs, and remote employees. Places like Portugal, Spain, and Greece offer digital nomad visas, allowing people to live in sunny, affordable destinations while working remotely. Dubai and Singapore attract high earners with low taxes and booming economies. Canada and Australia are welcoming skilled professionals with open arms, offering better salaries, lower crime rates, and a much higher quality of life. And let's talk about business opportunities. Starting a business in the UK is a nightmare. High taxes, endless red tape, and a struggling economy make it harder than ever to succeed. But in countries like Estonia, Thailand, and the UAE, setting up a business is not only easier but also cheaper and more profitable. Many governments offer tax breaks, incentives, and even grants to attract entrepreneurs. Then there's the personal freedom aspect. Do you really want to spend your entire life in a country where your income is heavily taxed, your cost of living is rising, and your career opportunities are shrinking? Or would you rather live somewhere that actually rewards your hard work, allows you to save more, and gives you the freedom to design the life you want? The world has changed. You're no longer tied to one place. Remote work, international job markets, and global mobility mean that you have options. So the real question is, why stay stuck when you could be thriving somewhere else? So now you know the 10 biggest reasons why more people than ever are leaving the UK before 2030. The question is, what would you do? Stay and hope things get better, or explore the endless possibilities beyond the borders? Drop a comment below and tell us, if you could move anywhere, where would it be? We put a lot of effort into bringing you eye-opening content like this, so if you found this video valuable, support us by hitting that subscribe button. It's just one click, but it makes a huge difference. And before you go, check out our previous video. It might just change the way you see things. See you in the next one. Did you know that in 2025, some countries have completely shut their doors to British travellers? That's right. If you're holding a UK passport, there are places where you'll be denied entry, refused a visa, or even risk getting detained. Some of these bans are expected due to political tensions or war, but a few might shock you. Imagine booking your dream trip, planning everything down to the last detail, only to find out your passport is useless at the border. Or worse, what if you unknowingly land in a country where Brits are heavily restricted and find yourself in serious trouble? But why is this happening? What exactly led to these bans? Some countries have cut ties with the UK over diplomatic disputes, others have closed off completely to outsiders, and a few have made it ridiculously difficult for British citizens to get in. From war zones to authoritarian states and even a place where cars must be white, this list is full of surprises. So before you make your next travel plans, watch till the end, because one of these destinations might have been on your bucket list. Let's dive into 10 countries where British citizens are not welcome in 2025. Number 10.